a spectacle of power plays and favoritism, but today they'd outdone themselves. I stood in the doorway of our mahogany-paneled conference room, watching my brother Marcus arrange nameplates for the important attendees. "Oh, Emily," he said without looking up, his designer suit perfectly pressed. "The kitchen's through there. We need coffee service for 20 executives. Make it good. We have potential investors coming." I smoothed down my simple black dress, a custom Armani that cost more than his monthly salary, though he'd never recognized that. The irony of the situation almost made me smile. In less than an hour, those potential investors would learn they were actually meeting with my representatives. "Of course, Marcus. Anything else?" I kept my voice carefully neutral, thinking about the documents waiting in my private office downtown. The ones that would turn his world upside down. "Yes, actually." He finally looked up, that familiar smirk playing across his face. "Dad wants you to use the service entrance from now on. Can't have the cleaning staff walking through the main lobby. Bad for our image." Cleaning staff. That's what they'd reduced me to in their minds. Never mind that I'd graduated top of my class from Wharton, or that I'd spent 5 years learning every aspect of business while they weren't watching. To them, I was just the family disappointment who refused to know her place. I turned toward the kitchen, but my sister Victoria blocked my path. Her Chanel suit probably cost what they thought I made in a year. "Oh, and Emily, try not to break anything this time. These cups are Wedgwood." The memory of last month's incident flashed through my mind. They'd accidentally tripped me while I was serving coffee, then blamed me for the broken cups. It was the final push I needed to set my plan in motion. My phone buzzed quietly in my pocket. A message from my assistant. "Final acquisition papers ready. Board votes in 30 minutes. Shall we proceed?" I stepped into the kitchen, closing the door on their laughter. If they'd bothered to read the financial news, they'd know that Shadow Valley Enterprises, my company, had been quietly buying up shares of Harrison Group for the past 2 years. By day's end, I would own 51% of their precious family business. Another buzz. "Mr. Harrison Sr. has signed the preliminary agreement. He doesn't know you're the buyer." My father. The man who'd told me I'd never understand business because I was too soft. Who'd given my brother control of the company despite my better qualifications. Who'd relegated me to serving coffee while Marcus ran our grandfather's legacy into the ground. I began arranging cups on the silver service tray, each delicate clink a countdown to what was coming. Through the kitchen door I could hear the conference room filling up. Marcus's voice carried clearly as he greeted the investors. "Welcome to Harrison Group. We're excited to discuss this new partnership opportunity." If he only knew those investors were actually my lawyers, there to witness the transfer of power. My phone buzzed one final time. "Board vote complete. Acquisition approved. You now own controlling interest in Harrison Group. Shall we inform the family?" I picked up the coffee tray, my hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. "Wait for my signal," I typed back. Opening the kitchen door, I entered the conference room just as Marcus was beginning his presentation. He barely glanced at me as I set down the tray. "As you can see, Harrison Group is poised for exponential growth." He gestured to charts that I knew were grossly inflated. Charts I would soon prove false. My phone rang, the sound cutting through his pitch. Marcus glared at me. "Emily, honestly, can't you even serve coffee without disrupting?" I answered, putting it on speaker. "Yes, ma'am." My assistant's voice filled the room. "The acquisition is complete. Shadow Valley Enterprises now owns controlling interest in Harrison Group. Shall we proceed with management changes?" The room went silent. Marcus froze mid-gesture. Victoria's coffee cup clattered against its saucer. I smiled, finally allowing myself to savor the moment. "Yes," I said clearly. "Please proceed with all plan changes. Starting with the board of directors." The silence that followed felt like shattered glass, sharp, dangerous, and impossible to ignore. My father stood up slowly from his chair at the head of the table, his face transitioning from confusion to rage. "What is this?" he demanded. "What kind of joke are you playing?" I set down my serving tray and pulled a folder from my bag, the same bag Victoria had mocked as clearance rack last week. "No joke, Dad. Perhaps we should review the numbers." Marcus lunged for the folder, but one of my investors, actually my chief legal counsel, smoothly intercepted him. I wouldn't do that, Mr. Harrison. These are official acquisition documents. Acquisition. Victoria's voice cracked. But we're meeting with investors about expanding our tech division. I began distributing copies of the folder's contents around the table. No, you were supposed to be meeting with investors. Instead, you're meeting with my team. Shadow Valley Enterprises has just completed its acquisition of Harrison Group. We now own 51% of all shares. Shadow Valley? My father's face paled. But that's the company that's been revolutionizing the tech industry for the past 3 years? I finished for him. The one you dismissed as irrelevant when they first started buying shares? Yes, that's mine. I founded it with my trust fund, the one you tried to block me from accessing. Marcus grabbed the documents, his hands shaking. This can't be legal. We would have known if someone was buying up our shares. Would you? I pulled up the company's financial records on the conference room screen. You've been so busy playing executive that you missed the systematic acquisition of shares through various shell companies. Each purchase small enough to fly under your radar, but together. I gestured to the total. Well, the numbers speak for themselves. Victoria stood up, her designer heels wobbling. But you're just a. Just what, Victoria? The family failure? The coffee girl? I walked to the head of the table, my father's spot. I spent 5 years learning this business from the ground up while you all laughed at me. I learned our weaknesses, our vulnerabilities, and most importantly, I learned how to wait for the perfect moment. My phone buzzed again. Security teams are in position, my assistant texted. HR has the termination papers ready. You see, I continued, sitting in my father's chair, while you were all busy mocking my servant position, I was building something bigger than Harrison Group ever was. Shadow Valley's market cap is 10 times what this company is worth. My father found his voice again. You can't do this. I'm still CEO. The board. The board just voted to accept the acquisition. I cut him off. They know Harrison Group is in trouble. Your leadership, I looked at Marcus, has driven this company to the brink of bankruptcy. Those growth projections you were about to present? Pure fiction. I pressed a button on my phone and security entered the room. Not Harrison Group's security, mine. Now, let's discuss the changes that will be implemented immediately. I opened my laptop. First, the board of directors will be restructured. Dad, Marcus, you're both being removed from your positions effective immediately. You can't fire us. Marcus shouted. We're family. I looked at him coldly. Family? Was I family when you made me use the service entrance? When you tripped me with that coffee tray? When you told clients I was mentally unstable because I questioned your decisions? Victoria tried a different approach. Emily, darling, surely we can work something out. We're blood after all. Blood. I laughed softly. Funny how blood only matters when you need something. But you're right about one thing, we are family. That's why I'm offering you both positions in the restructured company. Entry-level positions, of course. You'll need to learn the business properly this time. The color drained from their faces as security began escorting people out of the room. My father remained, staring at me with a mixture of anger and something else, perhaps respect. When? He asked quietly. When did you start planning this? I stood up, straightening my Armani dress. The day you told me I'd never understand business because I was too soft. The day you gave Marcus control despite knowing he wasn't ready. The day you decided that your daughter's only value was in serving coffee. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Security escorted Marcus and Victoria from their offices while my team began the immediate transition of power. I watched from what was now my office, formerly my father's, as they carried out boxes of personal belongings, their designer clothes and perfect composure now decidedly rumpled. My assistant Sarah entered with a stack of reports. The initial audit confirms what we suspected. Marcus has been falsifying financial reports for months. The company's actual position is worse than we thought. I nodded, unsurprised. And the offshore accounts? Found them. He's been siphoning company funds into personal accounts. Your father either didn't know or chose not to see it. The door burst open as my mother stormed in, her face flushed with anger. What have you done? Your father is devastated. Marcus hasn't stopped crying and Victoria is probably realizing her credit cards have been frozen. I finished calmly. All company expenses are under review, including her business lunch at the spa last week. We're your family, she exploded. How could you do this to us? I stood up slowly, walking to the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. Family? Let's talk about family, Mom. Where was this concern for family when Dad made me serve coffee? When Marcus spread rumors about my mental health? When Victoria deliberately tripped me in front of clients? They were just what? Teaching me my place. I turned to face her. Well, I've learned my place. It's right here running the company I now own. My phone buzzed with another update. Board members have signed off on the new structure. Shadow Valley's integration team is ready to begin. Now, I said, returning to my desk, if you'd like to discuss your position in the restructured company, I'm happy to have that conversation. Otherwise, security will show you out. She stared at me, tears welling in her eyes. I don't even know who you are anymore. No, I agreed softly. You never did. After she left, Sarah brought in the latest financial projections. The merger with Shadow Valley would save Harrison Group, but changes would be dramatic. Most of Marcus's executive team would be replaced. Victoria's vanity projects would be shut down. The company would return to what my grandfather had originally built, a solid, ethical business focused on innovation rather than appearance. Late that evening, as I was reviewing transition documents, my father appeared in the doorway. He looked older somehow, his usual commanding presence diminished. The board tells me you're installing new management, he said quietly. Yes. People who understand business isn't about fancy suits and inflated egos. People who've earned their positions through merit, not birthright. He nodded slowly. And us? Your family. I handed him a folder. Inside you'll find job offers for everyone. Entry-level positions with clear paths for advancement, if earned. Even you, Dad, can stay on as an advisor. But understand this, the old way of doing things is over. And if we refuse? Then severance packages will be provided, along with comprehensive non-compete agreements. I met his eyes. Your choice. He opened the folder, reading silently. Finally he looked up. You planned this perfectly. Waited until we were vulnerable. Used our own arrogance against us. I learned from the best, I replied. You always said business was about seizing opportunities. I just seized mine. Over the next few months, Harrison Group transformed. Marcus, humbled by the audit findings, accepted a junior analyst position. Victoria, after a brief attempt at a wrongful termination lawsuit, took a role in customer service. My father, surprisingly, proved valuable as an advisor once he accepted the new reality. The company flourished under the merger with Shadow Valley. Our stock price doubled, then tripled. The tech division, properly managed, became an industry leader. Even my mother eventually admitted that